I ended up joining a big mastermind group. And one of the rules that they had was that you never give advice. You always just share experiences.
Welcome to the Base Coat Brainiac podcast. My name is Austin Hauser. I am Chief Brainiac over here at Base Coat Marketing. And if you own a painting business and you're listening in, you're in the right place. Now, today, I have the pleasure of chatting with a man who invests in businesses for fun, whose name I've heard dropped along with the statement, "That is the smartest man I've ever met." Someone who's on a mission to walk across the United States. Brandon Vaughn, I hope I didn't make your head too big with that intro, man. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here.
Dude, thank you. I'm like, who the heck said that? I've never heard that one before. That's awesome.
Multiple people. I'm not going to mention names, but yes. So listen, man, today.
Hey, I love the Chief Brainiac thing, by the way. That is killer. I love it.
Look, we need to pick a title, and CEO just sounded a little boring.
So good. It's so good. I love it.
Right on, dude. Well, listen, man, we're here to talk about you today, and you have a very interesting background. I'm a part of multiple networks on the marketing, painting side, and you're one of the only names I hear consistently dropped throughout all of the networks that I'm a part of, which makes you rather unique. So let's start with you and your backstory. Tell us, how'd you get here? Take us back to the beginning. What's your story?
Well, one of my first original titles was Chief Towel Washer. And that was literally what I would tell people. I put it on my signature line for my cleaning business. I had a pressure washing and window cleaning company. I'm a second generation home service business owner. My dad was a window cleaner for 33 years. He just didn't have any employees. Like, he was just the guy on the truck, on the ladder, on the tools, doing the work for 33 years. Actually, I take that back. I was one of his employees, and he had maybe one employee every once in a while that was like a helper. And I started working with him full time at age 13. And that's kind of how I got my start. I was watching my dad with his business, and I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. And sure enough, the day I turned 18, I got my own business license, washing windows, and I put Chief Towel Washer on there as my title.
So good.
And that's kind of how I got started into it. And I've over the years, I've made every freaking possible mistake I think a business owner can make. Saying something really stupid, and half of my team quit on me. We were booked out like 2 months in the middle of our busy season. We just I kind of grew over time. Only once I got like a really, really good mentor. And I'll fast forward like all the drama that I think every business owner has. It's like, oh, we almost lost everything. We were on food stamps, and like, we had like the comeback moment. And I think that for me, the biggest lessons that I kind of learned were from people that are way smarter than myself. I do not feel like the smartest person. I feel like I have to surround myself with people way smarter than me. And then I just like to listen. I like to listen and try to emulate success. And to me, that's kind of been my secret sauce, my secret recipe, is just listening to indicators of success and trying to copy it.
Love it. Yeah, look, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think I've gone through the same pain and suffering that every business owner goes through that has any measurable amount of success, right? And the unlock for me was hiring the people that have already walked in the path that I plan to walk in the future. Right. And I cannot agree more, man. That's the secret to success. Now, for you, has it been in one particular type of mentor that has got you to where you want to go? Like, on my end, I have coaches and advisors on the finance side, on the leadership side, and the business economic side. So I try to find different aspects of our business and where I can see guidance on. Yeah. Has there been any one particular asset for you that's worked out well?
Yeah, that's a great question, Austin. I agree with you. There's every mentor or coach or someone that I've had along the way, a few things kind of stand out. One, anytime I've paid attention more. And, when you have like free mentors, or you belong to Facebook groups and you're, talking to people and you're asking questions, like the advice doesn't hit you as much as when you pay for something. You like, okay, well, I got to make this an ROI. Otherwise I got to look at my wife and tell her, hey, I spent 10 grand and it got me nothing. So like, I really got to execute. You have more to lose that way. But the ones that have made the biggest impact for me, one of my first coaches, Kedma, she didn't give me like a lot of real technical, this is exactly how you set up your business, this is exactly how you do this. She was like a hope broker, where I would just get to her and I could borrow her confidence. And I'm like, I'm stressed out about this. I don't know what I should do here. And this is what I'm thinking, maybe this. And she's like, you know what to do. You know exactly what to do. I'm like, yeah, I do know what to do. And then I do it. And I learned more about just, committing to action is almost more important. There's this really cool book called Overcoming Indecisiveness by Dr. Theodore Rubin. And he says the failure of a decision has little or nothing to do with the actual choice. The failure of a decision is directly traceable and proportional to lack of dedicated commitment. And as that hit me hard as an entrepreneur, because I'm very ADHD, probably as you can tell by this whole conversation. Sorry for the listeners. But when I get something that I have a bunch of different options, I have a tendency to get into analysis paralysis. But just sending a path, even if it's not necessarily the best, most optimal path, will get you farther. And then committing to it and really locking in and going along that way greatly increases the likelihood that that path actually becomes successful. So for her as a coach and a mentor, that was on the mindset side. I've had coaches and mentors on my most recent one on mergers and acquisitions by Carl Allen. And he taught me how to go out and buy businesses and really kind of did a paradigm shift with me mentally on, how businesses are valued and how to go out and buy companies. And I've had probably a half dozen to a dozen coaches over the years that have helped in multiple disciplines in my life.
So good. I literally have a line item on our P&L that is for advisors and coaches. And that's the only way you grow. I mean, you can take the hard road, which is stumbling across every pothole and roadblock that you could avoid otherwise just by hiring the right people, right?
What about you? What's been something like your best mentors and coaches was really powerful?
Man, I like to say that success in life is 90% mindset, 10% skill set. So to your point, it's about hiring. I call them my business Yodas, where they know what to say when I need it most. They always have that mindset of you're in a rut. You have hit a ceiling. We need to make this your new floor. And to your point, it's about giving you the confidence that this is just another problem. This problem is not unique to you. You don't have unique problems. And here is an opportunity to solve that problem. And the best advisors, the best mentors do not give you the answer. They give you a path and say, pick one. And the confidence on the other side of that is unparalleled.
Yeah. I fell into that trap when I started coaching other people. I realized how much it takes to be a good coach, because I would frequently fall into I'd say the beginner coach mindset, which is, well, if it was me, I would do this and I would do this and I would do this. And there was this really cool experience where I ended up joining a big mastermind group. And one of the rules that they had was that you never give advice. You always just share experiences. And an experience is a gift. Advice is someone that tells you okay, you need to do this. I think you need to do this. But instead, if you share experience, it's like a gift that you can provide someone, because you're hey, I trust you. This is my experience. You take it what you wish. And the more that I've heard people's experiences and what they are, there's principles and little lessons that I can draw from it. And now I try to focus on that more when people are hey, what do you think I should do? I'll be I'm not sure, but let me share a couple of experiences of things that I've done that's kind of similar and see if maybe anything's valuable here. And it kind of takes the pressure off you as a coach to not say someone goes out and does it and they come back and they say, I did exactly what you said and it totally failed. And you're like, what? You're how? What's, but everyone implies things a little bit differently. And I think it's really important to, kind of recognize that.
Yeah, the best mentors that I have lead with questions, and I love the experience related conversations, right? Because I like to say there's power in perspective, and that's why I invest in so many various coaches across the board. I have one guy who's retired. He is a professor, ex-professor, and he comes from the old school business world of the hustle culture. There wasn't even a thing back then. And his mindset around scaling a business is very, very different than some of my more modern business advisors who look at businesses and it's that grind, that hustle. You need to keep going. You're up against the world. So having that balance and that multiple perspectives across, decades of experience is where I found the most success in that coaching world.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
So good. So, all right, let's talk about M&A because I do want to talk about HireBus and building a team and what you're doing today. But let's talk about where you started back at Wise Coatings and working your way up to today. As far as I understand it, you got your fingers in a lot of things right now. Talk to me about that.
I do. Yeah. I didn't plan it to be this way. Well, I guess that's false. I did plan it to be this way. I didn't anticipate it would be like this. For when Wise Coatings kind of came to be, I owned a company called Conquer at the time, which I've since sold. And it was a coaching company. And one of the projects I thought would be so cool is I really missed home services. I had my cleaning business. I built it up to about 70 employees. I sold it, had a really good exit, launched into Conquer, but I kind of missed owning a service business. And I'm like, okay, let me start a brand new service company. We picked garage floor coatings. And I'd never done any kind of garage floor coatings before. It was complete newbie to the industry, but the principles of business are all the same. And this is the thing that I kind of love about even buying businesses and turning businesses around is that the playbook's like the same for each one of them. And the service, whatever you offer, is usually the smallest thing in the actual business, machine that you create. Documenting it, SOPs, training system, like all of that still exists, but you could put in a variable of almost any service. And largely the business runs very, very similarly. So when I started Wise Coatings, the premise was launch a company, see how quickly we could get it to 7 figures and do no work in the field from day one, no sales calls and no, like not even answering a phone call from day one. And we went from 0 to 100K a month in 4 months. And by like month 2.5, we had 7 employees. So it literally was just focusing on hiring really great people and putting systems in place and then scaling marketing like crazy, as very easily. Like it just became a game of how fast to get to 100K a month is like, how fast can I spend 10 grand on Facebook and Google? Yeah. Like that's all that it was. Like month 1 was 3 grand. And it was like 6 grand. It was like 9 grand. It was 10 grand. And then, wow, wouldn't you know, I'm at, 6 figures. So many people they don't spend enough. And they just like spend the percentage of your goal revenue, not your today revenue.
Yeah.
So that happened very quickly. Wise Coatings we decided to franchise it. I never franchised anything before, but I found someone way smarter than me. Her name is Whitney. Hired her as my CEO. We partnered up. And then she built out this really incredible network. So we have, 39 locations across the country, and it's about 4 years later. And then for me, my next kind of venture has been in doing a roll up in the electrical space. So founded a company called Hammer and Forge, and we found our first acquisition, which I'm doing another video series on called Forge by Fire, that bought this 40-year-old stagnant electrical company and kind of doing the same thing, rebranding, new website, new technology, increasing marketing, and then kind of scaling this up. And then now it's just going out and buying up a bunch of more and kind of tucking them together. And we could talk for a long, long time on arbitrage and multiples and valuation increase and everything on the M&A side. But that's kind of like I'll call it like a passion project that I'm running on the side with like a partner. And that's kind of the cool thing about going out and buying businesses is you can buy companies that already are cash flow positive, already have a team. And it's feeling like it has a potential to be a lot less work than the total startup grind. We bought a little bit small of a company intentionally, but the next companies that we purchase are larger.
Okay. So in the world of M&A, there's going to be inherently a risk of failure. How do you best mitigate that risk? Have you experienced a business that you invested in and it has failed?
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't yet. I haven't invested into a business that has failed. It probably should have. I probably should have shut it down, but I am stubborn and like kind of refuse to let it fail. So just in full transparency though, I have made bets on businesses and have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And maybe your average person would just be like, this is dumb. You're probably your smart person. You mentioned smartest person in the room. This is probably evidence against. Like, I got this sunken cost fallacy.
Sure.
And so, it's at a point where, okay, the business did come back around and it's starting to do that, but I got a ways to kind of dig out now. And just when I look at full ROI, so not quite there yet on a couple of my businesses, but by and large, pretty much what I think about is when I buy a company, I really do the most diligence on who's my operator that's going to run this business and how can I ensure that I come in and not cause the team to implode. So there's a lot on the due diligence side when you're looking at a business to buy to see, okay, if I buy this business and I have to come in and I have to raise prices, or I have to change up pay for technicians, or I have to change up policies in order to make this better. Will the company revolt? Will the employees revolt? We did one acquisition where half of the employees quit within like the first 60 days because they didn't like the new changes that we were doing. But half the team was pretty cancerous, to begin with. And we kind of knew that going in. We kind of went in with some eyes wide open. So making sure that you have a good mitigation plan and a good recruiting plan in advance so that if people do quit, you can quickly backfill positions. I think that's kind of like an important consideration when you're looking to buy a company.
Okay. So now, as I understand it, most of your time today, or a significant amount of your time today, is going into HireBus, which is one of your newer ventures. Is that an accurate assessment?
Yeah, that's my full-time job is HireBus.
Okay. So one of the things you mentioned is that the service of the business is the smallest component. Talk to me more about that, because when you look at most business owners, they're overwhelmed developing the SOPs, training the team, managing the client relationships. And you hear the principle of wearing multiple hats. I mean, that I think it makes up 99.9% of business owners / operators out there. So what is the larger component? I think you already touched on it, but let's hammer down on that harder.
Yeah, I kind of view it as like an iceberg. You have the 10% of the iceberg that's floating above the water. It's what you see. And in the case of like a painting business, that's painting services or epoxy floor coating services or electrical or, anything that's there. And the reason why I say it matters so little is that, yes, there's some technical things that have to do with, your application time, your installation time, what products you have, what some of the, the unique, deliverables that you do on that. But by and large, the more important thing is your playbook and exactly how you do every single step inside of your business. And the playbooks are becoming, I'd say, increasingly more important, especially with the advent of AI really hitting the scene and impacting home service businesses. The exact same amount of work that it takes, and I'm just going to use this term and it may come across a little bit offensive, but to program a new employee of exactly what to do inside of your business with like a documented standard operating procedure. Like a system, my definition for a system is a documented process on how to do something important in your business. Yep. So systemizing everything, whether it is, this is exactly how my team answers the phone. These are the scripts they say. This is what they do in their CRM. These are what buttons they click. This is how we, assign and tag our jobs. Here's how we schedule them. Here's how we know how many hours to schedule them on the calendar. Here's what service pricing we have. Here's how the technicians go out. Here's how they show up. Here's their scripts. Here's how they go through the process. Here's how they, use the software. When you really kind of break down every single thing that happens inside your business, you need to have those systems and processes for your employees to be able to train them on doing things consistently. But now, even with like AI, that's all delicious context that an AI model can use to automate the training and onboarding. be an onboarding coach, be a chat agent that can, if an employee is out in the field and they have a question, they're asking your AI chat agent instead of asking the owner questions. And it has all the context of how to do literally everything inside of your business, that it can very intelligently like watch for things, analyze stuff, and even help like, look for blind spots. And eventually, which we're pretty much almost there, do these roles. It was just a matter of time before AI will be answering our phone calls, scheduling jobs, collecting payments, rescheduling jobs, reaching out to, 20 customers on the schedule all at once and playing Tetris and like shifting everyone around for the maximum optimized schedule. And that's the more you focus on the playbook side and creating those systems and processes, the more powerful it's going to be. So in every one of the businesses that I look at, whether either to purchase or whether to improve the service quality and, build a business to be able to start scaling more, that's what I focus on is like, okay, let's get the playbook optimized. And it's a big area to focus on. I think some of the most important areas.
So good. Yeah. And for anyone listening in that does not have a playbook, all that is, it's an SOP library. It's a library of your training guides. And to Brandon's point, you can tie that into AI and create an AI knowledge base for your team to remove yourself from being the sole holder of answers within your company. Love it. So talk to me. And also for those listening in, the reason I have someone on here that has an M&A background is the path to selling your company or making your company sellable is the same path to making your company one that you don't want to sell, right? And it's no different than like fixing up your home to sell. Sometimes you fix it up and you realize, actually, this neighborhood isn't all that bad. Right?
That's right.
So I love the mindset of M&A investment bankers, because when we look at a business, if you want to make it sellable, make it so that it's one that you don't want to leave. And then that's ultimately the one that's going to give you the most freedom.
Right. The same path to building a business to keep and have it be a little ATM money printing machine, or building a business to sell and has a bunch of value. It's the same steps, which is really convenient. You don't have to choose between them. You have the same actions to take.
Exactly. Yeah. And that actually took me a while to understand. Like I built our current business to sell. And I always had this mindset of like, I need to hustle and grind and get to this imaginary goal of, business freedom, thinking that was going to make this whole thing sellable. And then in reality, I learned this a while ago, is if you just stay the course, do the hard thing for an extended period of time and make an ATM machine where you put $1 in, you get $10 out. On the other side of that is a very sellable business. And it's one that you ultimately might not want to sell.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened with my cleaning business. Was I told my wife, okay, I'm going to work on this thing. I'm going to sell this within 5 years. We're going to get it all done. And the time when I realized I made the most amount of money when I was sitting at the desk building checklists, tools, helping resources for my teams to be able to do their jobs more efficiently. And then like things really started shifting. And the time came when the buyer approached me. I was not planning on selling at that moment in time. In fact, I was loving my business at that time. I was working 5 hours a week and things were running really smooth. I had my Avengers, that was my director of marketing, admin, production, sales, and they were running the business. I had my, Avengers meeting once a week. I was the invisible man. I'd turn my video off on Zoom. It's kind of like a funny thing. And we would just get together, and the business got a nice high multiple placed on it because it was profitable. It was running without me. And if you think about it, that's exactly what a buyer wants. A good buyer that has good budget. They don't want to buy a job. They want to buy a business where the owner can quietly walk out the back door and the business doesn't collapse in and on itself. And all that knowledge share, that institutional knowledge, it can no longer exist inside of your brain as the owner. It has to exist somewhere where everyone can reference it. And really every single position in your company should be replaceable. No one should have institutional knowledge that lives in their brain. It should all be documented somewhere. Otherwise, you're just in too big of a risk, to let someone go, or they quit and all of a sudden you're in, super stressed out. It's just documenting. It's not super complicated.
Absolutely. Yep. So speaking of people, this is going to be an open-ended, very strategic question. How important is your team to scaling your company?
I'd say not important at all. No, I'm just kidding. It took me too long to realize that you don't focus so much on just constantly needing to motivate the team. You hire motivated people. You don't hire people onto the team and then you have to tell them what to do and teach them everything to do. I mean, like even Steve Jobs famously was quoted as saying, I don't want to hire smart people, so I tell them what to do. Like I want to hire smart people so they tell me what to do.
Yep.
And there's different levels of this, there's like, and some people only equate this to, well, therefore I need to hire technicians that know exactly how to do painting and exactly how to do floor. It's like, no, we're not talking about this level. We're not talking about the front service line workers, because sometimes hiring very skilled, experienced painters can backfire because they come in with bad habits. They come in with like, oh, you guys use these brushes. These are trash. We only use these ones. Oh, you use that paint. That's trash. We use this. And then they're like little cancer spreaders inside the company, and they buck against the systems because they're so used to doing it a certain way. They don't comply. So like soft skills are very important, especially at that initial layer level. Hiring for your core values is very, very important. But as you start growing, the team that gets you here is not the team that's going to get you there. And you have kind of two choices. You can promote from within, or you can go out and bring in people that have a lot to add into the business. It's easy to promote people from within. Hey, I got a really good lead technician. He's going to be my production manager. He's never managed anyone a day in his life, but now he's my new production manager. The problem with that is that you now have to be responsible for teaching them how to be a manager and program them on all the things they have to do. And now it's like you are the bottleneck for everything because you're telling everyone step by step exactly what to do. And it doesn't mean that can't work. It means that if you are going to promote someone in, like you have to give them the tools and the paths and the education and the resources to level up their skill set to be able to functionally do that and hopefully get education outside of you. Otherwise, you bring people in to your business. And when I started bringing like production managers in from outside, my first aha moment was a production manager he was a production manager for a trailer manufacturing facility. And when he came in, like everything changed in the production side. I didn't have to worry about the operation side of the business. He would do hiring, firing, training, and he had never done cleaning before, but he could just come in and he was rope certified. He was ex-military. He's like, where's your load plans for your vehicles? I didn't even know what that meant. It's like you get these people that come in and they have this skill set that you don't possess. And now it's like 1 + 1 = 2.5, 3 versus 1 + 1 = 1.5, because now you have to train this person to become a 1. And it's everything. The kind of person that you have, their core values. Our job as CEOs, first and foremost, has to be recruiting. We're really the chief recruiting officer. We sell the vision. We know exactly what person needs to go where in our org chart. And we never let that job go. As long as you own a business, your primary responsibility will be recruiting, period. That's just it.
Could not agree more. So I actually want to back up to that concept of outgrowing your team. I think this is where I see most business owners hit a plateau. Because what happens is they get into this growth mode. They're growing alongside that team. They have loyalty, right? They have the team that's been in the trenches with them over the last year, 2, maybe even 3. And then they hit a plateau and they can't break past that. I like to say they fall to the level of their systems, and sometimes you're falling to the level of your people and experience.
Yeah.
Right?
James Clear, baby.
Yeah, exactly. So how does a business owner, how do they evaluate that situation and say, all right, my path is we either train the current team up to get to where they need to be, who knows how long that's going to take, or I take the risk, climb that next mountain and hire somebody that, as let's say, if we're looking at leadership, perhaps that might not be the best fit. What are the consequences of that? So I think that's where most people just stay the course, because the devil they don't know is worse than the devil that they do, right? So what is that in your experience? How do you overcome that?
I would say that the thing that I look for when I'm trying to find someone to fill a role is I've already had a lot of conversations with people on my team, giving them plenty of opportunities to qualify for eventual future promotions or different types of positions. And we conduct regular performance reviews with everybody in our team. So once a quarter, once every 6 months, depending on their tenure, we sit down and we say, hey, what do you want your position to be at the company, even if it doesn't exist yet? What do you want your next position to eventually be? And we'll have conversations with the technicians that say, I would love to be a salesperson. I'd love to be a production manager. I'd love to be a general manager. I'd love to open my own branch someday and, do X, Y, Z. It opens up really good conversations to say, well, let me tell you all the reasons why I would hire you and all the reasons why I wouldn't hire you. Is that fair? And they're like, yeah, that's great. And so we go through, if I want to have a technician that's going to be a production manager, I'll tell them, look, these are all the areas where you're not sticking to the systems. You're not you've been called out on not wearing your uniforms properly. Your vehicle end of day checklist is not getting done consistently. You're not wearing your PPE always on the job site. How can you have all these other technicians direct report to you if you yourself haven't done those things? You're going to now tell them that they have to do it. They're going to call you out faster than anybody. So this is one growth area for you. If you'd ever want to be considered in this, like this is your performance improvement plan. And here's the things that you need to kind of like be working on. So you give people on your team an opportunity to see what they need to do and how they need to grow and develop. And if they can take those opportunities and they run with them and they improve themselves and you tell them what experience is going to be kind of needed, then they can. Someone says they want to be a salesperson. Great. You have an opportunity to knock on doors at every single job that you're at. Why don't you start doing that? Here's the script. Here's how you can do that. And you can give people an opportunity to see where they can go. Now, when it comes to hiring, like from outside in, outside of your current company and your current employees, the big thing that I look for is a high volume of applicants. You want to have so many people in your pipeline that you actually have some knots in your stomach because there's so many good people that you could potentially pick from. You don't know who to pick.
Yep. And
a lot of people don't understand really what that looks like because they have one great conversation with someone and they're like, this person's the person. But you can't make decisions that way. You have to be able to have multiple choices and a variety of them. And then the more interviews and conversations you have with people, the more opportunities you have to find that really, really great, perfect person. And then really understanding your core values, what it is you stand for, hiring for value alignment and that trust factor that you could potentially have. Sometimes that even just takes working with someone on like a project basis to find out if they're going to be a really great fit. So, we'll oftentimes do working interviews or little small projects that we can tackle together. I always want to see someone actually working in front of me with someone on my team before I give them an official formal offer. So I like to do working interviews. Office managers are going to come in for a day, sit at the computer, and we're going to like tackle some stuff together, or production manager or GM. And, the GM we just hired for our electrical company, we flew him in and we sat together for a day and talked strategy and talked 30, 60, 90 and what that looks like. And I had him kind of pitch to us what he would do his first time period and ask questions and see how well we would kind of like work together before we gave him an offer. And it's just a really important step to kind of verify and do some of those due diligence actions before you take the big step of hiring someone like that on.
Tell me about a time that you made a bad hire or an incorrect hire. What did you learn from that?
Oh man, I'd say that my biggest weakness that I have, and this, you can actually validate this by looking at my right seat score as CEO. I score very low on criticality, and I have a low desire to be critical of people and things. And I think everyone's going to be awesome. When I have an interview, like I can't hire people because I'm not allowed to solely be the person to hire them, because I just like everybody. I really like people. I like getting to know them. I like getting to know on a personal level. And I find something, I bond with people quickly, I really hit it off. I'm like, this person's going to be awesome. And then I've frequently been really shocked and surprised. And I have lots of examples of people that I have hired that I just had rose-colored glasses. And the biggest learning lesson that I've had in hiring people that have not worked out. They've turned cancerous. They've either, backstabbed us. They've done something dishonest, or their work ethic or their skills are not nearly what they said it was going to be. Now I have people with very high criticality be involved in the interview process, and they also are interviewing these people. And I'm like, isn't this person great? They're like, no, this person is not great. They have this, this, this. And I'm like trying to convince them of why they're so good. And that's usually a sign like, oh, Brandon, you're doing it again. So I have to be very, very cautious on making sure that I bring other people, to check and see if someone's going to be good.
Hey, look, I would argue that every entrepreneur is the same. We make up roughly 15% of the population, yet like 90% of the D and I's on the DISC score. So we're very outgoing, introverted. We always want to see people win. We always see the best in people, right? We're optimistic for the most part. And to your point, that's also the main reason why we should not be doing the hiring. I have a full-time recruiter on our team. We have 36 team members, and I've been told that I'm not allowed to talk to anybody in the interview process until the very last day when we're narrowing it down to the top 2 or 3.
Yeah, you can be like the rah-rah cheerleader that just sells them on the vision.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just the very last day. That's the only time. Like, hell, I don't even talk to some of our team members until the day that they're onboarded.
Right.
To your point, it's very, very important that you have an outsider, objective point of view that can see through the personality traits that you would otherwise fall in love with. And I think that's where having a robust hiring process, a robust interview process, and volume of candidates, that's the key. And that's also why, again, I have a full-time recruiter. I've identified on our team, at least, if we had the right people on our team today, we could triple the company tomorrow. And I've also been told by my business advisors that I'll be saying the same thing 5 years from now, because you're always going to be outgrowing your team. So with that said, talk to me more about HireBus and part of the challenge that you're looking to solve in the world of business with that company.
I'd say the toughest part that we've talked to business owners, including, my own experience, but especially with Conquer, where 20,000 people went through our programs at Conquer, business owners. And by and large, the number one issues that people talked about were it's so hard to find good people. And it's because it takes a lot of work. And it also is a very, very reactive process that shouldn't be. So if the thesis behind HireBus is the fact that recruiting is a marketing problem to solve. You have to have really good job ads. It has to be compelling. You have to sell a good vision. You have to spend marketing dollars behind it. Your employees are internal customers. And the same way that exactly who your customer avatar is for your external customers, how dumb would it be, Austin, if one of your clients was to say, hey, you know what, we're booked out a month. Let's turn everything off on marketing and let's wait until we're 2 days before we have no work on the schedule to turn it back on again. Right. You'd be like, no, there's a lagging like, surge that needs to kind of pick back up again. It doesn't work that way. Well, people do this all the time with their recruiting efforts. They all of a sudden spin up ads, dump a bunch of money, they find someone, and then they shut everything off. And the reason why they shut it off is because they're full. They have no open positions and they're good, quote unquote. The problem is that they're not good. It's only going to be a matter of time before someone quits. They have to fire someone. They add another truck on the road. And so really always hiring, always keeping your funnel open, never turning your ads off, never stopping interviewing people is what every large company does that has the talent acquisition game like dialed. And they're very, very efficient. And they, for some reason, always get the best quality talent that comes onto their team is because they're not searching inside of this little 2-week sliver of time to find just people that happen to be searching for jobs right then and there. So we designed HireBus to be a 365-day-a-year recruiter. And it's powered by AI. It will write the job ads, post the job ads, split test them for performance, find out which ones perform the best, message all the candidates, text, email, phone calls, pull them through the funnel, get their resume, get their application, get them their right seat score, which is our unique behavioral analysis tool that we use. And then we'll interview them. as well. So we actually do the first round of interviews. And depending on what mode you're in, either proactive mode, which is where we all should be, or reactive mode, I really desperately need to hire someone like today. The agent will kind of take those different actions. So in proactive mode, you're building a talent bench and you're telling people, hey, we're anticipating an opening coming up here really soon. Is it okay if we put you on our waiting list? And then you just start stacking a talent pool. And then when the time comes, let's say John's been showing up to work late and is not, doing the checklist every single day. Well, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and go into reactive mode and send out text blasts and warm up our list and start scheduling interviews on my calendar. And then boom, you start getting interviews, you find someone amazing, and then you can bring them on very quickly. And so that's what kind of changes that power dynamic in the recruiting cycle, is it puts recruiting back in control of you. And so all this is through a software platform that we've spent millions on building and developing out. And it's working amazing. For Wise Coatings, we have 280 techs on a waiting list to hire that we've already interviewed, we've already vetted, we've already analyzed, and they've told us yeah, when you have an opening, let us know. So we can fill those positions really fast. And it's been one of the funnest things I've ever done. It's been so cool.
The psychology behind hiring is very, very interesting to me. And it's also why we have a full-time recruiter here with a budget on to literally find somebody for every single role in our company. And it's the same concept is the one thing that used to keep me up at night was not losing a big client. It was losing a key team member. And I think any business owner can relate to that, right? Yeah. You lose a key team member, that is an exponential crisis at your fingertips, right? And that can be an extremely difficult problem to solve, given that it can and should take more than just a month, right? Mm-hmm. So having that pipeline of candidates, no different than a sales process and a pipeline of prospects, makes you sleep a lot better at night. So
yeah, 100%.
Talk to me a little bit about the AI side of this and how you weed out those that are, let's say, part of the bottom 90%. So, to your point, you want volume, but you want quality volume. How are you solving that problem with HireBus?
Biggest thing that we do is we reach out not only and post on job boards, but we also do proactive outreach through a lot of different methods. And this is cold outreach. So it's people that aren't just looking on job boards, but people who are already gainfully employed. And we reach out to those individuals. We identify them. Our agent goes out, communicates, presents them with the opportunity, and then invites them to apply if they are interested. And this really increases the volume, especially for salespeople, because there's a lot of really, really killer salespeople that kind of exist out there, but they're just not quite happy with either the fit that they're on, but they're not so unhappy where they are searching on job boards. And this gives you kind of a unique opportunity to talk to those individuals, pull them into your funnel, rather than just relying on who just so happens to be, searching through and stumbling across your own specific job board. And then what our agent does is it'll actually optimize spend. So it will dial in how much spend there should be for certain positions, depending on what those, demands and needs are, and can help keep budgets a little bit more efficient on the cost per hire. That's kind of to me, I think the big secret sauce of it all is just having a huge top of funnel.
So good. So the one thing you mentioned, and this is something that took me a while to understand, is those shopping on LinkedIn, which, to be fair, there's a time and a place for that, are generally going to be unemployed. You might get those that are employed, but they're unhappy and they're looking for another job. But, it's those, if we want to kind of summarize that persona, that are sitting on their couch eating a bag of potato chips, versus those that you are manually reaching out to that are maybe just below the position that you're looking to hire for, that seek an opportunity, that you're giving them an easy path to get there, or somebody that's above where you need them to be, but that you're willing to pay a little bit more, right? That manual outreach that you typically have to do on LinkedIn, it sounds like HireBus does automatically.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it goes out and communicates with them, writes the outreach messages, and then pulls them into the top of funnel.
That's it. Yeah. So guys, anybody listening into this, I mean, again, can you imagine being able to have a team of A players and then also seek other A players even when you don't need them? So when one of your current A players maybe turns into a B player because you're outgrowing them, you can just pick from somebody else. That is the concept of hiring that we have here is ABH, always be hiring. And I think this is a very underrated part of any business that every business owner Brandon, is there a correct size business to start this concept at, or do you think just from day one you should have this mindset?
That's a great question. I'd say that, it's tougher for an owner operator who has 0 employees to justify, hey, I need to always be hiring, I need to always be interviewing, I need to always have someone like kind of on deck. But as soon as someone has really made that step to get off of the truck, and they don't want to get back on the truck again, that's when it kind of becomes really important, and the exact feeling, and maybe you've had to do this before, if you're listening, someone quits and you get sucked back in on the tools to have to keep production going. Because if you don't, you're going to lose a few grand a day in production for every day that person's not there. That cost, that risk of lost production is greatly outweighs whatever minimal amount of spend and energy and effort would be to ensure that doesn't happen. And so that's where I'd say it really becomes important to kind of always be hiring. But we do have a product specifically for people that want just one single hire. So we have like a guaranteed hire package. It comes with a year's access to the platform. So you can give right seat scores to everyone on your team, any other one else, that you want to do. It comes with all of that. But then it also will cover us going and getting you one really good quality hire guaranteed, as well as filling up your talent pool. And then, we can turn off the ads if you don't want to stay on the ongoing, we're always interviewing on your behalf, and you can have that position open. So really anyone, even if they're just wanting to hire their first employee, we can help them with that. If it's really intimidating, the thought of going and posting all their stuff on their own, getting everything going, whatever position is, whether it's sales or technician or office manager, production manager, project manager, any role we hire for.
Love it. And after you find a volume of, let's say, qualified prospects, do you assist with the interviewing? How do you recommend the interview be conducted, or the interview process be conducted to get to that right fit for the right seat?
Yeah. Is it all right if I share my screen real quick? I can just kind of show. All right. So this is let's see if I can get this set up in a way where it's easy to kind of show. So, all right, share screen. So this is basically what the platform looks like. So when you have your right seat score, we score how well a technician will be on a scale of 1 to 10. And it measures, proactivity, dominance, endurance, order, all these different benchmarks. And these benchmarks, this river that we call right here, represents exactly what the top performers of the millions of assessments that we have as data points in our platform have identified as the best, highest performing technicians that there are. And then the interview questions that we give you. So we will actually assess where their blind spots are, where some of their weak areas might be. And then we generate all of the questions for you to be able to go in, and you can put your answers. How do you handle situations where you must make difficult decisions without consulting others? An ideal response would show that Nancy can be decisive and confident when making choices independently. Nancy's score indicates a low need for independence, which may affect her ability to make decisions without relying on others. Critical trait for a lead technician. So, it can go through, and we'll give you questions to ask. And then our agent actually will ask all the first round of questions and get a lot of good critical insights and give you better insights to how well this person might do beforehand. So the cool thing that we have with this is that it actually gives you the ability to be able to see what someone is going to do in your business and how well they would kind of function, and allows you to be able to go into it with eyes wide open. And, for me, this kind of changes the game for a lot of business owners, because they don't have to do all that work themselves before they want to talk to somebody.
Yeah. I remember the day I hired my first couple employees, and the interview process went something along the lines of, do you have a pulse? Cool, you're hired, right? And
you have a license? You have a driver's license? Can you lift 50 pounds? You scared of ladders?
Exactly. Right. So it's imperative that you not only ask the right questions, but you get the evidence behind those questions that they actually can perform the jobs. And I love the benchmark scores against others in the industry with similar profiles and where they score against that. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Brandon, I could talk to you and pick your brain on this the kind of stuff for hours. But I do want to value your time. And I also want to give you an opportunity. I always ask anybody on here if they have like one great insight, one thing that they can scream from the rooftops of, that any business owner should and could hear. What might that be?
It really is all about the people. And if you think about your business in terms of you have customers and you have employees, we spend so much time thinking about the customer experience, thinking about who our ideal customer is, what our average tickets are, what our marketing materials are. Do we have videos? Do we have brochures? Do we have landing pages? Are our pages SEO rich? How do we get more customers? How do we get more customers? But literally, nothing would exist without our people. We would have no service to offer. We don't sell paint. We don't sell products to our customers. We sell the services, and the services require really great people. And so having that constant funnel and that constant action, it's all the same stuff. All the marketing efforts that we do over here to get external customers are all the same marketing efforts we need to be doing to get internal customers. Careers videos, what's it like to work at your business? What makes you different? Why would somebody want to work for you? What does your ideal person look like? What's in it for them? If you're not answering these questions and you don't have the marketing materials to support that, and your job ads are all about you and why, what you need, we're looking for someone that does this. We're looking for someone that does that. No, it should be about what's in it for them. You are this type of person. You are someone that's looking to level up. You want a team that's high performers. Even the way your job ads are written need to capture someone's attention and hook and draw them in. And then once they're in, you have to actually deliver an amazing customer experience. That's the other challenging part. So just remember those two parallels that you have are identical, whether it's for external customers or for internal customers. And once you start doing the motions and the actions that get the external customers as the internal customers, you notice a massive dynamic shift in your business. Salespeople start closing higher rates. You start selling more with fewer people. You start doing more production with fewer people. Your payroll percentages begin to drop on your P&L. Your profit begins to increase. Your stress begins to decrease. So it's all about the people. It's literally the thing that you sell, and you have to make sure your supply is dialed in right.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's no longer about just offering a job anymore, right?
That's right. Exactly right.
So good. Brandon, if anybody's interested in learning more about HireBus, where would they go? Roughly, what are your price points? What does that relationship look like with you?
Yeah. So if anyone wants to check out a walkthrough of the platform, what we typically do is we conduct free hiring audit strategies. So what it looks like is getting on a call with one of our recruiters, taking a look at, okay, how many people have you hired in the past 12 months? What do you anticipate your next needs kind of being? Walk through the platform. It could be a good fit for you. It could not be the right fit for you at this point in time, but it's free. We walk through it. You'll leave with a lot of value. If you go to hirebus.com/BCM for base coat marketing, Austin's been gracious enough as one of our partners to be able to basically give us the ability to offer our best discounts to you guys, which is really cool. A lot of people don't do that. And so, basically what we do is we pass that straight on to you. If you want to go there, you can get a demo and we'll get you our highest discount off of our packages, whether it's a one-time hire package or an ongoing one. Some of our plans start at $149 a month just for our core platform. And they go up, to less than half the cost of hiring a full-time VA to do all of this. And you're getting all the, the horsepower of a AI agent that does this 365 days a year, 24/7, all the messages, instant interviews. So definitely check it out, and hirebus.com/BCM. And then, of course, if you have any questions or anything, shoot me an email, bvaughn@hirebus.com. Happy to point you to someone on my team if you have any questions or you're struggling with anything on the hiring side or anywhere else. Happy to serve.
Brilliant. Brandon, I appreciate all your time today. Stick around. I'm not done with you yet. Thanks again for all your time.
Right on. Thanks, Austin. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us on that episode. I hope you guys enjoyed that chat as much as I did. Now, listen, if you guys are hungry for more conversations like this, go swing by our website. It's basecoatmarketing.com/podcast. And finally, we are very open to feedback. So if we haven't covered a topic or there's someone you want us to chat with, please let us know. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on the next conversation for painters.